Hi everyone, this is Paul here doing a report on the Sun's passage through Pisces, which is going to be running from February the 18th up until the spring equinox, marking the end of one astrological cycle and preparation for the beginning of the next. So Sun in Pisces is about the collective unconscious and the energies within it. So during this period, one of the key things that we can do to help ourselves is to meditate and reflect. So we've had 11 months of activity and some reflection towards the end of it to see what growth we've achieved. Now with Pisces, it's all about tying off the loose ends. It's all about closure and getting ready for the next cycle of growth. So with Pisces, there will be certain things from the past that we may have had it on for a while, but it's time to let go of it, to surrender it to our higher power, to free ourselves going forward, so we're not carrying the past into the future. Now, with the Sun's movement into Aries at the equinox, that's when we're looking at planting the seeds to new beginnings. But during Pisces, that's when we identify what those new beginnings that we want to sow are. So, if Aries is about planting the seeds, Pisces is about choosing the seed that we want to grow, and it's about what is our personal dream, what do we want to create in the future. And to get an idea of this, it's important that we spend some time in meditation throughout the next month, just to figure out what is it that our heart truly desires, what is it that we really want to create for ourselves, not just the things that are socially acceptable, that the status quo harps on about. Every one of us has our own personal vision and our own heart's desires, and those are the guides that we need to use during the Sun's transit through Pisces to figure out what is it that we want to be developing in the next cycle, what lines of growth do we want to be pursuing in the next astrological year, starting in March when the Sun moves into Aries again. So during this time, we need to reflect on what have we learned about ourselves in the past 11 months of growth, what new abilities have we got that we can now harness to pursue new dreams in the future, or to carry on following the dreams that we've already been following if we've already been on that path. If we haven't, this is the ideal time to really start planning on what is it that we want to set the intentions for. Because in Aries, that's when the growth starts, and if we wait until then, yeah, we'll still achieve plenty of growth, but we won't necessarily know what it is that we want to grow, and therefore we won't have the right intentions when it comes to pursuing the growth. It'll just be slapdash here and there, just trying to figure out what it is that we want to do. So it's also a time for clearing out our minds. So one of the things with Pisces is it covers things like to do with self-undoing. So these are the behaviours that we engage in to sabotage ourselves out of fear, and it's not necessarily easy to see what the issues are, because Pisces is emotional by nature. It's not rational like some of the other signs are. So just thinking about it isn't enough. So, some of the best clues actually come from our dreams this time. So if we don't really look at doing it at the moment, what we might find useful is if we set the intention to try and write down what do we see in our dreams at night, because dreams always contain some kind of message. Sometimes we may not remember the dreams, and that's fine. It doesn't mean that we failed. It may be a dream that our conscious self doesn't necessarily need to know right now. But ultimately, if we can tap into our dreams, we might find ourselves recalling them much more regularly, and if we can see common themes occurring that show how we tend to sabotage our own well-being, how we sabotage our own desired growth, because we all have an ideal sense of self, but within the shadow self there are powerful elements which they need acknowledging, because they are equally valid parts of ourselves as the version of ourselves that we believe ourselves to be. So it's important that we actually face our own personal shadows at this time as well, because by doing that we become much more whole and complete within ourselves, and by reintegrating those parts of ourselves that we've suppressed for a long time, we're actually able to harness a lot more energy towards our work, because the energy is no longer being used to try and suppress the parts of ourselves that we don't like or that we've been told aren't acceptable, so we just blindly follow what everyone else has said. And the side effect of this is that as we do our shadow work and we let go of the need to suppress or deny it, and we learn to accept it, those shadow parts actually transform. They have the opportunity to become integrated into the light again. And with Pisces, we can tap into Source directly in a very powerful way. And the general way of knowing if we're doing this properly is we'll feel a very strong sense of love within ourselves. And at the end of the day, it's important that we do love ourselves, because only through self-love can we true healing. We can get other people helping us, but at the end of the day, it's our willingness to love ourselves enough to face our own shadows and bring them back out of the darkness and into the light, and integrate those parts of ourselves back within to become more whole. And by doing that, the measure of love that we can feel within ourselves and radiate out to other people becomes much stronger. And as that love becomes stronger, we find it much more, or a lot easier, to show love and compassion towards other people, to express empathy to those who are suffering, and extend the hand of compassion to those who are struggling at the moment but just need a little bit of geeing up to help them take the next steps to improve their lives and to become happier and healthier people. And Pisces brings a lot of empathy through psychic senses rather than just mental concepts. So we may find ourselves feeling the emotions of the person who's suffering, and if we're sufficiently attuned and we don't become swamped by these emotions, we may have found a sudden drive to reach out to that person and show them some kind of love and kindness and try and help them. It doesn't mean that we need to save them at all, but if we can help that person just a little bit, it may be all that they needed to receive to take the next step to empower themselves. Because we're not here to be each other's saviours. The only people we can guarantee saving is ourselves, but only through the necessary effort and taking responsibility for our own lives, by turning up, by remaining in touch with who we are and not becoming drawn out and separated from that sense of who we truly are. Because there's always going to be pressure from the outside world to conform to expectations, but the more we can resist the need to conform and to stay true to who we are, the more transformative we can be, the more we can bring about change through love and compassion rather than fighting or just resisting. Because love just has a tendency to dissolve the very things that try to hold us in. And if we can increase our measure of love rather than trying to resist everything, then that love then radiates out of us and by its very nature transforms our surroundings. Now, not everyone is going to necessarily be ready for that. We have to accept that. As I said at the lunar eclipse video, love for ourselves is going to be a key theme when the nodes shift, but not all of us know how to love ourselves. And if people have become afraid of love because of the condition they've had, then they may not be able to accept the love that you give. And that's fine, we just have to accept that. They are where they are, and that's fine, that's their journey. If need be, we can just send them love from afar rather than doing it directly, and if they're willing to accept it, then they'll feel it at some level. But otherwise, just let it go. If you feel you need to try and save someone, sometimes it's better off, rather than trying to do it, ask yourself, why is it that you want to save it? Are you just trying to prove a point, or are you trying to escape having to do the work on yourself by focusing it on another person? Pisces does rule escapism, and that includes various hard substances and sugary foods, and where we indulge in things to excess to avoid being present. But all these different ways of escaping, they're all related to trying to find that sense of connection to source, and using substitutes for it, which may work in the short term, but will ultimately fail in the long run, because our bodies just develop tolerance to certain things. Meditation is the best way to rectify this, because with meditation we become more sensitized, not less, over time. We become more receptive to divine energies, we become more receptive to the universal love which we're all worthy of receiving, but ultimately it's our mindsets that determine whether we're prepared to receive it, or if we try and keep it at bay because we just don't feel ready for the kind of transformation that we know this love can bring to us. So ultimately this is a time to look at our dreams, both when sleeping and when awake, and figure out what is it that we want to create over the next 12 months, what seeds do we need to gather, ready to plant them, and sow the seeds of new beginnings at the spring equinox. And also to emphasize the need to increase our measure of love, increase how empathetic we are, and to develop greater understandings of who we are, and through that we become more understanding and compassionate towards others. I hope that's a useful guide for what Sun in Pisces can bring, but ultimately it's how we approach it that will determine how it manifests for us and how much growth we achieve. So all the best with growth of it, and may it bring many blessings for you. Take care.